Hello, viewers. Welcome to today's edition of Being the Help I Needed. My name is Theophilus Lamptey. We are just going to bring you the part two of what we started last week. Like we said, it was bulky, so we wanted to make time and divide it properly so you'll be able to appreciate it. Today, we are going to focus more on the marriage itself, the reality of the marriage. Last week, we were dealing with the ideas and the kind of mindset that we have as far as getting into marriage is concerned. And these, we said, are influenced most especially on the things we see on social media. And my special guest made us understand that the social media are just highlights. They are not the low moments. So if all your decisions are based on the highlights you see on social media, you are definitely going to make a very grievous mistake and it's going to cost you. So we are going to build on it today. If you followed us last week, you already know who my guest is, Mrs. Vanessa Gyimah. You want to say hello, and then we would begin the reality of marriage for today's session.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be back here, and I pray that the Holy Spirit will speak to me to be able to deliver whatever I have to say to help someone out there.
Thank you very much. Believers, believers that are listening to us today, if you've not sent the link, this is the time you want to send the link. You want to be a blessing to somebody. I'm sure last week was a blessing to you. You've already heard from a sister, a colleague, someone in our generation that the things that we are looking for are too superficial. We need to consider the God element because marriage was a plan that God himself instituted. So you don't want to go ahead of God and decide and later bring the problems to God. A popular man of God was saying that you need to be careful in the choice of a spouse. Why? Because instead of marrying a prayer partner, you would end up marrying a prayer point. Maybe you didn't get it. Let me explain this to you. He said that you are supposed to marry somebody who becomes your prayer partner. But if you are not careful, you will make the wrong decision and marry your prayer point. So every day when you go on your knees, you wake up at dawn, you are praying against that person you are married to because there's too much heat in the home. May God deliver us from such mistakes in our generation. Ms. Gyimah, today we're talking about the reality of marriage. And last week, you were talking about when you entered into marriage, God being so good, the first month you were blessed to get pregnant. How was the experience like? Now you're taking us back to the ideas you had before marriage and then getting into marriage. Was it something you had thought about? How did you manage it when it actually happened? I mean, what was the whole mood before and the reality?
Oh, thinking back is just making me laugh,
Yeah.
but in reality, I didn't expect it.
Mm,
Obviously, you know that when you're getting married, I mean, you should expect that, okay, you'd be pregnant, have children, all that. But I just didn't expect it so soon.
mm,
I I don't know why I was just thinking that, oh, okay, maybe after a year I had made plans like, oh, after a year I'll be doing this, okay, do this, do that. And maybe after a year we can start trying stuff like that. I used to say stuff like that. But just 1 month, exactly 1 month into the marriage, I found out, oh, I was pregnant.
mm.
Okay, and I'm like, okay, this is like, okay, different. This is different, but let's see how we'll handle it. Initially, when I found out, I was like, oh, I mean, I can still do my stuff, I can still work, I can still do what I have to do, maybe when it's getting to the latter part of the pregnancy, then I can just, cool down and just prepare for the baby. But after less than a week of finding out I was sick, I just was hit with this condition called hyperemesis gravidarum.
Hey,
So it's
please
this
take it again slowly. Some of us didn't get it well.
it's called hyperemesis gravidarum.
Okay, so
Yes.
before you even go into educate us about what that situation is, I like the part that you said you are not planned for like getting pregnant that quick. So we are trying to find out like, can you elaborate on the kind of plans you had before you married? And then when it happened that your plans were messed up, I mean, there's a whole lot of things that could go wrong because you planned. What if you are not careful, it could really mess you up. So I'm trying to find out how you were able to deal with it because you had such an elaborate plan, and then you get in the first month you are pregnant, and it's like everything is just just messed up, or for lack of a better word, yes, messed up. I don't know how you want to explain that one for us and how you dealt with it, so that somebody who is having an elaborate plan will also understand that the will of God supersedes our will. So probably it was your will that you would wish that it would be like this or like that, but God had a different plan. And how did you manage the will of God for your life, which obviously was not your plan?
Definitely, it was tough because I mean, like I mentioned, I had plans,
Mm,
but when I found out, I just had to. I didn't even try to halt. What I was going through just halted me.
mm,
Decided that okay, me myself, I'm going to pause.
mm,
What I was going to just made me just pause wherever I was and just I literally couldn't do anything. So I just was there and just left everything in God's
mm,
hands. Yeah. It wasn't easy because getting married just for a month and you realize you are sick, you are now even getting to know each other, like coming to live together, all of those things that when you first marry, those who are married, you understand me, right? So it was very difficult because sometimes my husband expects that, oh, I mean, I'm no longer a bachelor,
mm,
I'm now a married man. So I'm expecting that okay, my wife should be able to do certain things for me, cook, do this, do that. And here's the case where she's sick. She can't even get up to even brush her own teeth. So how am I even going to expect certain things from her? And under a month, you feel like, did I even make the right decision? Because other people are there and they are pregnant. They can do whatever they want to do. They
mm.
can work. They can cook. They can do whatever they want to do. When it's labor time, they go and deliver and come back. But why is my own so different? Is it a scam?
Mm, mm,
So yeah, it really wasn't easy at the time, but with God, that's why I said that I believe that what God told me at the time to focus on the content
right.
was what held us through
Mm,
because it was quite, even though it was a blessing, like what we also had to deal with was not easy.
mm,
You see, so that God
mm,
factor is what kept us going,
mm,
and we knew that this is a blessing. So we just have to, compromise whatever it takes. We just have to compromise to accommodate what
mm,
God has
mm,
blessed us
mm,
with, and after some time we'll be able to, move on with our lives. And yeah, that's how we
mm.
we were able to manage that time.
Great. To my dear viewer who is listening to me, this is such an inspiring story. I like the fact that she made reference to the God factor. You remember when we were talking about it last week? She said she had all these elaborate checklist that she was actually looking out for, and all those things were superficial. They were all appearance, and God spoke a word. So you see, uh, our success in this life is not about what we think or feel. It's about what God tells us and we are able to catch. So she caught a word, which is go for the content, because God knew ahead what was supposed to happen. Imagine she made a wrong choice by going to marry somebody who fit her appearance checklist, who did not have the Spirit of God. When she got into that situation where she immediately got pregnant after marriage and she couldn't help herself, will that man be able to help her? Will they be able to compromise and adjust? Will that man be able to cut her slack and say, oh, well, I know you are not feeling fine? Maybe that man would not have that kind of love of God to be able to accommodate all that challenge. So God knows best. My brother, my sister, God knows what is ahead of us. So let us spend time with God. Let us follow the leadings and the teachings of God. And she said it was absolute reliance and dependence on God for them to go through. It was a blessing. Don't get it wrong. It was a blessing for them, but it came with a lot of challenges because they were not prepared. Because they had their own plans. Probably, those kind of plans. Oh, we want to just enjoy ourselves for 2 years before we start having children. But what she said has kind of rendered that statement null and void, because children are gifts from God. You cannot necessarily tell when God should give it to you. So in as much as you have your own plan, you must rely absolutely on God to come in for you. So they had a lot of shock at the time, but they were able to absorb it. Now I think it's time for me to get education concerning the condition that you said you found yourself in, that situation which made it impossible for you to be able to move around. Immediately you fell sick. So just take us back again. The name of the condition, what is it all about, so that anyone who is listening can also get that idea that this is something that is also possible. So as we make our plans, we put it in the hands of God to be able to help us.
Definitely. So the condition is hyperemesis gravidarium.
Mm,
Um, it's not very common amongst pregnant
right.
women. Statistics even says that it affects 0.3 to less than 5% of women
Okay.
all over the
Mm,
world. So, most people cannot relate, but yeah, some of us can relate, and yeah, I hear that it's genetic sort of,
oh,
because later on when I got to do my research and all of that, I found out my mom went through
similar.
similar
Mm,
when she was pregnant. So yeah, so and I found out that it was genetic. Yeah. Basically it's extreme nausea, vomiting, not being able to eat anything. When you take even water, you throw up,
mm,
all of that. So if you've not been able to eat for days, obviously you're losing your body fluids, and you will need to survive. So at a point I had to be taken in for IV fluids, all of that, back and forth.
wow.
Every week I had to go in for IV fluids, stay in the hospital for a few days, and come back, all of that. Yeah, but we're grateful to God we are here now. And unfortunately, as at now, they say there is no cure for it. They'll tell you you just have to go through it.
Mm,
There are some medications they'll give you to kind of subside the nausea and the
mm,
vomiting. But let's say if you are to throw up about 4 or 5 times a day, you end up throwing up about 2 or 3
mm,
times. That's if even the medication works for you. I saw some stories where that medication didn't work for certain people, but for me personally, it kind of subsided it for me a little bit. Yeah. So yeah, I went through that for about maybe 5 6 months. So yeah, about 6 months. Then I could feel like myself, a little like myself again. Yeah, but we are thankful to God for it all.
mm. Okay, so now we want to, if I mean if it's okay with you, how were you able to deal with it, like personally? How did you go about it in terms of like prayer, what the role of your husband and all of that, maybe family and friends, because you said it's not very common, but there's still a percentage. So it's possible that somebody also would experience it. So how did you, I mean, deal with it in your unique situation, considering the fact that you had just been married? Because if somebody had been married for maybe 5 years and they are used to themselves before such a thing happens, probably they know how to handle themselves. But yours was a quite unique case. You just enter into marriage and you get this condition which makes you not able to help yourself, obviously not able to help your husband as well. So how were you guys able to handle it? Was family, I mean, extended family involved to help? Or, I mean, what did you do personally with your husband, or anything that actually helped that you would want to share with the public?
Okay, so personally, when we found out that okay, this is the condition I was suffering from, my mom, like as I said, my mom also went through it, so she
Yeah.
could understand what I was going through. Even though like my marriage was very fresh at the time, my husband also had like a hard time having to like deal with whatever was going on, having to understand because it's fresh, it's new, you don't expect it. So yeah, everybody was, even though I was going through the sickness, he was also having, his bit of trying to understand
Mm,
what was going on.
mm,
Everything was happening so fast for everybody, you know. But my mom helped me a lot because she had experienced it before. She kind of knew how to, go around, help me out, you know. And my husband's job is quite a busy one, and at that period of the year when it happened was also his like peak season.
Right.
So most of the time he also had to go to work regardless of what was irrespective of what was
Mm,
going on, he also had to go to work. So there were times where I would go to my mom's. He would take me to my mom's, and when he knew he wasn't going to be around, because obviously I couldn't be home
mm,
alone. Yeah, because I needed help. So I would go there, spend a few days there, come back. You know, it was like that, back and forth, little one day at a time, and then yeah, we got to where we were, but it really wasn't easy because I couldn't stand to do
mm,
anything, not even to fry an
mm.
egg. So now in the mornings, like when I was back in my home, he had to wake up and make me
Mm,
breakfast, you know. I had to, yeah. And I'm the type of person that I like to do my stuff myself. So initially, I was trying to stop him, like, oh no, I'm okay. I'll just eat biscuits and drink tea or something. But that wasn't really helping because with that condition as well, when you don't have anything in your system, it makes it worse. You feel the nausea even more. Even though when you eat, the tendency for you to throw up is high, but when they still say that you're supposed to eat.
mm,
I don't know how that works.
mm,
The medical people can help us with that. But yeah, they'll still tell you that even though you throw the food up,
mm,
you're still supposed to eat so you don't feel so
mm.
terrible. So then he would wake up, make me breakfast in his own little way that he could. Yeah. So we were just managing it like that when he wasn't around. I go to my mom's. Yeah. So we managed it up until I started feeling better when I was about 6 months. And then, yeah, we took it from there.
Wow. I am just I'm excited for one part of the story, which was the part that you kept saying that your husband was trying to do everything possible in his little way to help. And that could be a major challenge. Imagine that this is a man who doesn't know how to do anything. That could be a big problem. So, this is an advice to my young men out there. Don't live in that traditional mindset that has said that women are supposed to do this or are supposed to do that. And as the man, this is my role. This is a typical situation, which is not the norm. So when you find yourself in a situation that is not the expected, what do you do? That is where the compromise comes in. This husband we are talking about here, from what I'm being told, has a very busy schedule. And at that time when the wife also conceived, that was his peak season. But he had to make it work some way somehow. He would take the wife to the mom's place sometimes. When he's at home, he will also try to make breakfast here and there. You cannot say that you are busy so you want to leave your wife by herself. Mind you, you have just been married for barely 2 months. So it is very important for the young men also to learn how to do some of these things, because you don't know how your unique marriage situation is going to be. It is not the fairy tale that we hear all the time, where the man will sit and be watching football and the woman will cook and come and lay the table. What if you go in and the situation is like Mrs. Gyimah's case, where it's no fault of hers, it's natural, but she can't help herself? Would you still cross your leg and fold your arms and watch football and expect her to come and do the cooking? No. If you love her, you wouldn't want her to stress. So you see that Paul was talking in Ephesians, like I said. One of the things that Paul was advising the church, which I call the terms and conditions for marriage, is that the man should love the wife and the wife should submit to the man. If you love somebody, that means you are living a sacrificial life for that one. So what Mr. Gyimah was exhibiting was what we call love, sacrifice. Even though I have to go to work, I need to make sure that my wife is okay. So we need to pay attention to some of these little things here and there, and not just go in with that old mindset of I am the man of the house, so when I speak, don't speak. I'm the man of the house, so bring my food and lay it on the table. I'm the man of my house, so when I finish eating, bring me water to wash my hand and come and pack it. If it works for you, it's beautiful, but I can tell you that not all marriages will have this same format. Some will take this direction of Mrs. Gyimah's unique case, where she can't do anything and it's going to last the whole pregnancy period. What do you do? Yeah, so based on the condition that you were just explaining, I'm trying to think aloud, because, based, like the kind of personality you had prior to marriage, the kind of plans you had going into marriage. Obviously, you didn't expect this condition to hit you. So when it hits you, did it affect your personality? Probably you were the outgoing person, you loved to hang out and all of that, and this situation just kept you on the bed for a long time. Did it affect you? If it did, I mean, how did you go around it?
Yeah, definitely it did. It changed my perspective towards many
Mm,
things. It changed my focus while I was indoors because I was indoors for like a whole 6 months. My focus was literally on do not disturb.
mm.
Like you cannot reach me. Everybody was wondering, hey, where's Vanessa? Where's Vanessa? Even my where's Vanessa? Asking my sister and my mom, oh, where's Vanessa? We don't hear from her yet. So definitely all that time I was just rethinking about life in itself, So yeah, definitely my focus changed. Like the things that I like to do before, let's say go out, hang out with friends, and um maybe after as well, I became a mom. So really I didn't have time for these things anymore. Uh-huh. I have a new life altogether. So yeah, my focus was drawn on those things. Yeah. And also with my prayer life, it was so bad that I couldn't even pray for myself.
Mm,
That's how bad it was. Like there are times where I would just sit and stare at the ceiling. I couldn't even open my
mm.
mouth. Talking was difficult for
Right.
me. If you come and try to have a conversation with me, you are worried, like you worried me because I can't talk. I'll have to use so much energy to talk. So like I'll just like try and pray in my head or just have like these worship songs or stuff playing in the background, and at least I feel like okay, I'm listening to it even if I can't open my mouth and pray. Yeah. So after that, I don't know what it is, but after that, I just saw that okay, all the prayer that I couldn't pray is like after that, I became more prayerful.
Wow.
I would now like wake up at midnight, pray, even after having my baby, and he wasn't sleeping at night, so I just took it as an
Mm,
opportunity to, and I mean that habit stuck until now. So yeah, everything is a blessing in
right.
disguise.
Right.
I
Going into what you were just saying, I was just about to ask, like, how did the handling of the child come in? Because I'm sure probably you had ideas before marriage about, when I have a child, I'll do this and that. What were some of the ideas you had? And what was the reality when you actually had a child? Were they the same things you were thinking, or they came with a different set of itinerary altogether?
Yeah. So just like marriage, you be in a relationship like dating before marriage, okay, it's two different things. That's how going from being married or being a wife to mother, a mother came as well. Like it's two different things altogether. I was like, okay, after I give birth, all this is over, right? I can go back to my it wasn't like that at all, at all, at all. And they'll tell you that pregnancy is even the easy part.
Wow.
The motherhood will work.
Mm,
That's what they say. But yeah, I never understood till I got here. It's really not easy because it's like you just came from being one person to being two
mm.
people. Like you want to sleep at night, somebody's crying. It's your child. It's not even somebody. You have to wake up at and all of that, literally like a shadow of you everywhere you're going. The baby is with you, following you, especially if you don't really have much help. You literally have to have your child around you, be doing everything you have to do. So I also thought that okay, when I'm done, not when I'm done, when I give birth, okay, it's over. I can go back to work, I can do this, I can do that. I've actually not even gone back to doing makeup.
Mm.
What I do now is like just working from home, which is for my hair business.
Okay.
But to say I'm actually going out to do makeup, I have not been able to because this motherhood journey is a whole different one altogether from what I expected. Yeah. So
I'm just trying to process all of this in my head. An entrepreneur, getting married, immediately getting pregnant, giving birth, having ideas about what you want to do when you marry. You want to start this business and that, and all of these things coming together. And you have to take care of your husband as well. Give us a typical scenario of a week in your life. How is like a week in your life? I mean, the pictorial view, because I'm still confused as to how you are able to juggle all these things together.
Okay, so a typical week in my life, let me start from
Mm,
Sunday. So we do like Sunday to the next Sunday or Saturday. So maybe on Sunday, I know that okay, I want to cook in bulk. So I will cook everything I have to cook for the week because during the week I have other things to do. I cannot spend time in the kitchen to still be cooking on multiple days. So I'll cook in bulk. If it's maybe 3 or 4 dishes, I'll do all of them and then store them up in the freezer. I'll be tired, but I know that okay, I've done everything for the week. I'm good because I will handle my baby.
mm,
80% of the time my husband will go to work. So when he comes back, that is when he can help
mm,
me if he's so 80% of the time I'm with the baby. So let's say Monday comes, maybe because I was tired from Sunday's bulk cooking, maybe I would rest the first part of the day or just try to do something like maybe cleaning or something or maybe doing the laundry or something. The next day, I just do it one day at a
yeah.
time. If today I have to clean, I know that okay, I'm cleaning. If today I have to do laundry, I know that okay, I'm doing laundry. Then if the next day I know that oh, I'm 3 days in a row, I've been doing back to back. My baby too. And it's not like when I'm doing the thing, I can just do it fully.
Mm,
Oh. I have to stop and
yeah.
breastfeed or feed maybe every 1 hour, 30 minutes or 2 hours. So let's say if I'm cooking, when it's 1 hour, 30 minutes, I have to pause whatever I'm doing, go and feed and come back and continue. Whereas if there was no baby, I'll just go proceed, do everything quick, quick,
Mm,
quick. So it has definitely become the time has definitely become longer and all of
mm,
that. But yeah, it's been about 9 months and I have found a way to make it work for me, and I think that's okay. On nobody's timeline or
mm,
pressure, just doing it how I
yeah.
can. Yeah, and it's working for us. At least we are going one day at a time. So yeah.
Thank you so very much. In fact, women are superhumans, if you ask me, because listening to what she's saying, you see the way she's laughing with it. I'm sure if you have to get an insight of how it goes systematically, you realize that it's no joke at all. It is difficult. So to my young men out there, I pray that we also do something to help the women because they go through a whole lot. Aside the physical strains they go through, there's a lot of emotional things they deal with because the men sometimes are just focused on work and money, and we think that is all there is. No, there is a lot of emotional need the women also have that we need to pay attention to. So we also need to work hard. We need to support them as much as we can. And we are grateful for the life of Mr. Gyimah, who the wife clearly told us that he's been helping us and when he has the availability to do that. So to the young ones that are listening to us, don't just be in a hurry. Don't just be looking for money to marry. It takes more than money to marry and enjoy marriage. It takes more than having a house, having a secure job to sustain a marriage. You can have all these physical things, but if you are not matured emotionally, if you are not intellectually matured, if you are not spiritually sound, you would have all the materials, but there will be chaos in the home. Mrs. Gyimah, as we round up, I just want you to feel free, take the few minutes that we have to advise the young ones that are coming based on what we did last week about the ideologies, um, the kind of perception that the young ones have, especially the women going into marriage, and what you've experienced, the things you've heard, what you've seen from other people who are into marriage now, mixing the two together. I want you to just feel free, take your time and advise them. What are the things they should look out for? What are the things they need to avoid at all costs? And what do they need to know as far as the God factor is concerned when you come to marriage? That has been a blessing to you in your few years of marriage so far.
Okay. So the little that I'll have to say about marriage, I'll start from last week's discussion where I spoke about the list, having a list. I know young ladies like me out there, we all have our lists we are walking around with. We any time a guy approaches us or we meet guys out there, we quickly go through our list in our mind to see if he's checking the boxes and all of that stuff. But from my personal experience, I want to tell you that just rule out your
Mm,
list and see God's
that's
face
right.
as to what he really wants for you. Because marriage is like a long term thing, it's a lifelong thing, in fact. So you don't want to be entering for the wrong reasons. You really don't want to be entering for the wrong reasons. If you are looking for something that will last you your life, you need to ask God and seek his face so that he directs you. He's the one that made you and made your partner, made your husband to be. So he would know who fits you best. So that's why I'm asking you to seek his face, and he will definitely direct
Right.
you into what he wants for you. Secondly, I'd like to speak on the social media
Very,
bits.
very
Now,
important.
the Now, the lies that social media throws on marriages lately, most of the married people or the relationship content we see out
Mm,
there are their highlights. Nobody would take a picture of them fighting or something and put online. No, it is when they pose, they've done their makeup, they're smiling, they're going out to eat. All those things are highlights that they post.
mm,
So you using what you see on social media as your yardstick for marriage is very, very wrong because they are all highlights, people's highlights that they put out there. You don't know what happened yesterday before they even posted a picture today. You don't even know what's happening while they're posting the picture. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So you using somebody's beautiful marriage content as your yardstick will definitely fail you because reality will definitely set in when you get into marriage. So, a typical example will be myself. I'm using myself as an example in everything so that it's more relatable to
yeah.
you. I'm not telling you a story, it's me, myself, that I went through this. So, I want to share with you. So, when reality set in, I got pregnant right after marriage, and then I was hit with the condition hyperemesis. Who likes social media more than me? Nobody. But I was off social media for almost a year, from October of the previous year till like September of the next year. You couldn't find me on Instagram. I was gone. When reality hit, I forgot about social
Mm,
media. Totally. Not even, I didn't even put a full stop there. My DMs kept coming, coming, coming. People were trying to reach me, ask me if I'm okay, but I just wasn't ready to be on social media. Reality had set in. So that is to show you how much social media is something on its own and reality is something on its
mm,
own as well. Marriage is the reality. So I think that you should put social media aside when it comes to marriage. Yeah. So next, I want to say that it's good to plan. I mean, it's good for all of us to have
mm,
plans, but also when you plan, make room for God's
that's
plan.
right.
When you plan, definitely make room for God's plan because I had my own plan all meted out very nicely. Okay, step one, step two, step three. And then I got there and all the steps were gone, null and void. God had his own plan. So be open to God's plan as well. Because if I was bound on going with my plan, I probably have said, oh no, 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 I can't take this, and it'll be something else. But allow God to do his own thing. If you are going on this path and he says that okay, stop and turn left, just obey him because he knows why he's doing what he's doing. So yeah, definitely make room for God's plan in your life. And lastly, I like to say that Mr. T, as I call him, let me feel free. Mr. T was saying that the men shouldn't have like this whole traditional mindset,
Yeah.
and I definitely We shouldn't have this traditional mindset in marriage that this is the woman's role, this is the man's role, so nobody can do anybody's role. We all have to stick to our roles till Jesus comes. No, because you can go through something like what I went through, and you would need help definitely. Your partner, your husband would have to help you and all of that. So imagine he's of the traditional mindset. You will be there and only God knows what will happen. So yeah, definitely, be open to the modern type of marriages. I don't know if I don't know if that is the right thing to say, but yeah, the opposite of being
Yep.
traditional is, so yeah, be open to that as well, and I think it will help us. Yeah, that is my little bit of advice.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Gyimah. We are very excited and we thank God for you making time to come and bless us with all the experiences that you've had and the ones you've seen and the ones you've heard. But I just wanted to pass this across to our viewers that are listening. As don't discount these experiences at all. You might think, oh, this is a freshly married couple. They are barely 2 years old in marriage. And I mean, they don't really know that much. I can tell you for a fact that it's not the duration. It's about the lessons that you have in there. Somebody can be married for 20 years and would not have any of these lessons or these teachings that Mrs. Gyimah is sharing with us today. So in as much as they are just 2 years into marriage, all these things they are teaching are very, very important, and it will be extremely beneficial to those that are yet to get in to experience the immediate happenings of marriage. It will even be a blessing to some people who have been married for 5 or 10 years because they've not had this experience of getting to experiment their temperaments and how temperaments are supposed to help them to understand each other. They have been able to jump the hurdle of having to have petty issues here and there because they didn't pay attention to their unique identities and their temperaments. You could be married for 15 years and you are still having that issue going back and forth with it. But the lesson she gave us is that you need to know your temperament. You need to know your partner's temperament so you will be able to appreciate it and know that marriage is about compromise. You meet me halfway and I meet you halfway. We make our plans, but if God's plan goes ahead of us, we need to align and not fight with God's plan. So they've just been 2 years in marriage, but the lessons and the experiences they've shared with us today is extremely a blessing to us. We are praying and we pray that you pray for us, that God will give us some people who have been married for a long time as well. So we would also pick their mind concerning the long haul, what they've also experienced that probably is not in line with the first 2 years. You know, those that have gone for a longer period of time, probably they would have, when children are a little grown, having to deal with adolescents and raising adolescents, and whether it's a boy or a girl, schooling, finances, here, all of that. So those things will vary a little bit. So we are also praying that you pray with us that God will give us other people who have been married for long and have all these other dynamics so that they'll come and share with us. And it will be a blessing to Mrs. Gyimah and Mr. Gyimah as well. So based on their 2 years experience, they know what they are expecting when their child is grown, when they have other children to add, when they get to all these adolescent stages and the things they're supposed to look out for and all of that. So yes, it's been a blessing. We are very, very excited that you were able to make time to join us today. We ask you that you send the link to as many people as possible. Encourage somebody to come and learn. This is not only for the young men or the young women. It's for those that are even in marriage, those that have been in for a long time. You might be shocked, like I said. Somebody's been married for 10, 15 years, but we need some of these teachings as well. We just want to thank God for Mrs. Gyimah's life. We pray that may God bless and keep them. May God honor them. May God use them to be a testimony for the up and coming young ones who are getting into marriage. And in 5 years' time, they will come back and share another level of experience with us, probably with a lot more children and having to deal with all the school fees and the upbringing and all that. But we are super excited that you made time to come and be a blessing to us. Till we meet again next week, My name is Theophilus Lamptey, and this has been Being the Help I Needed. This is on all social media platforms as Theophilus Lamptey Ministries. You want to subscribe and share the link to as many people as possible. Stay and stick around and be safe. Bye-bye.